All right, guys, we're going to go over a few things here regarding your pipelines, the settings of your pipeline, how to change the automation settings or add automation settings to it. There's two different ways to get to the pipeline settings. You can either click the pipeline settings button here, which will take you directly to the pipeline settings, or you can click the settings button and then click your pipelines button to get over there. Your pipeline settings are broken apart into the different pipelines that you have attached. So if you want a specific pipeline to populate onto your feed, right when you click your pipelines, you definitely want to move the pipeline that you want up top to populate. Whatever is up on top is the one that would automatically show when you log into your pipeline section here, okay? Next is, let's go over these top bars real quick. This is adding new pipelines. This is how you add new pipelines to the list here so that you can assign statuses to it. If you're creating statuses in your pipeline, you're going to want to click the little plus button down here. If you don't assign them to a specific pipeline, you're going to have to assign them. So they'll be located in your unassigned section. As you can see, there's nothing here because I don't have any statuses that are unassigned. But if you created some statuses and didn't pick the pipeline, they'd be located here. All right. So let's go back into the settings section of pipeline because this is pretty robust. We made some changes to make it pretty simple. If you don't like the placement of where your status is located, you can simply drag it into a specific order, right? If you don't like where they're located, drag it into a new order so that you can change where it's located on your pipeline, okay? Now, next thing is let's go over your names of the statuses. If you want to change the names, you simply hit the edit button and change your names. If you want to change what pipeline they're associated with, you simply select the pipeline area, you can change it. If you want to add new pipelines, like I mentioned here, you can ignore the dashboard settings. We have those pre-set up for you, but if you want to go into there, you can. Next section is your automation settings. This is what controls the automation that are attached to your pipeline. Okay, so if you're saying, hey, when somebody gets dragged into a proposal, I want to control the automations of it, right? So this pipeline is set up so that when you drag somebody in the proposal section, it makes sure they're a prospect and it puts them in the quote follow-up drip group, which triggers the automation for quote follow-up. Expiry, and let's go back here on update and move. What this means is when somebody is dragged into this section and you hit the update and move button, it moves the group. So you have to be cognitive of carrying across specific groups so that you can continue to categorize your prospects and customers as such, so you can send out broadcasts if needed. So make sure you're carrying consistent groups across, because if you're dragging people across these pipelines, they are going to get disconnected from all the groups they were on and get added to the groups that you're putting here. Okay, so these are the automation settings. Now let's go over a couple other things here. The expiry time. This means if somebody sits in this status, in this proposal status for 30 days, it's going to do one of a few things. One, it can move them into different groups to trigger different automations, or it can move them into different pipeline statuses completely. Okay, so you can move them out of a status into a different one if you want to. That's the expiry option. Okay, so to create a status, you'd simply hit this little plus button, create a status, assign a pipeline, stuff like that. These email templates and text templates or copy and move group sections here are for one-off use cases. Any automation settings you want on the pipeline should be handled here. This is the best way to handle your automation settings. This type means you're tracking. So tracking for the dashboard, all your premiums, all your quotes, etc., all your numbers. You want to make sure that you have your statuses assigned. So this is a sold status. This is a not sold status, right? This is a quoted status. This is not a selected status, right? So these are tracking your numbers. If you want to shut off a status, you can simply turn it off here, or you can turn it back on. And then you have checklists. Okay, these are pretty cool. Checklists and task workflows. So to create a checklist on an account, you first have to create those things first, right? So if you want to have a checklist over here, gotta hit the add button, you create a checklist for what happens. They're pretty cool on what you can do. This is really designed to help you and your team, so you can create tasks on what happens. You can label tasks and notify people of what to do. My favorite thing to use on this is the workflow feature. Let's go back over to pipeline settings. My favorite feature to use is the task workflow feature. The reason why I really like this is because you can create, and we'll jump into this one, you can create workflows that if somebody's in a pipeline specifically, you can notify people, you can put wait periods on things so that you can manually follow up on people or add automation to the back end, okay? I really like the workflow section of the pipeline. Not a lot of people are using it. Required fields are things that you can update on a client when they're dragging across pipelines. We don't use this a ton. Adding and removing tags is also important. So if you're dragging somebody into a quoted standpoint, maybe you assign the tag that you quoted them. That way you know you've quoted them on some specific time. But these are the pipeline settings. Drag and drop them where you want. Make sure you're updating the automation settings that you want here. So if you're saying missing document should have an automation, well, perfect. First, click the group and then click the automation that's attached to it, right? It's pretty simple and straightforward. But these are all done just for that one status now, as opposed to how they were done previously with a lot of different other things that you're seeing. So a little bit easier to use. These are our pipeline settings. All of your settings control this dashboard with your quoted, your premium goals, and all that. So I hope that helps.